Hello everybody, here's yet another video in the VARC series of videos. This one is a bit different because I'm going to tell you about the opinions about VARC. So I had a comment on one of my videos yesterday from a fellow language learner who's a science teacher, and he said when he was studying his teaching degree, he did a lot of research into the validity of this VARC model and is it actually valid. So thanks for your comment, Mikhail. That was really helpful. I've just made 6 videos endorsing the VARC model, and I know there are opinions against this model and other language learning models, or learning models, I should say, because I used to be a trainer in a call centre, and we used to use different models. We used the Honey and Mumford model, which goes back further than this one, and it's a kind of personality indicator. And I think for a while these models were taken in the education system as the norm. Teachers used to take them on board and whether they tried to use them in the classroom, I don't know if it's possible, but being aware of it, I think a lot of teachers were aware of these systems. And I know when a lot of these research papers came out to say that these models were myths and that they should be taken very lightly, and that they could actually be dangerous because for a number of reasons, I'll go over that in a minute, that teachers were still carrying on using the models because they believed in them, and the models are kind of quite a simple and easy thing to believe in. So it's almost like I could sell you this model and you're just going to believe in it straight away. So I want to give a balanced opinion in this video. I want to try and say that it's up to you to decide about the model, if you think this model is valid or not. So I believe in the model because I believe it's good for self-development, and I think it's good to identify your style. So a lot of the research papers are not necessarily saying that we don't all have different learning preferences or styles, whatever you want to call it, but a lot of them are saying that that knowing it doesn't matter actually. So let's go into this a bit. So a lot of the research papers I've read are to do with higher education. So one of them, which I've read a few times actually because it interested me, because my first job was as an anatomy technician in the Royal Free Hospital School of Medicine, and one of the research papers was actually taken from anatomy students. So I remember reading this a while ago, a year ago or so, and then I read it again recently before I did these series of videos. I did do some reading on the VARC models as well and some opinions. So 400 and odd students were tested for the VARC model, and they came out with different results. And the end conclusion was that there was no correlation between the learning styles and their academic achievement. And so this kind of sort of proved that, learning styles were a waste of time, if you like. The general feeling from a lot of the conclusions of different research is that, firstly, these models can lead to pigeonholing. So, and I think I mentioned this in an earlier video, that you could actually, once identified yourself as a particular style of learning, or particular preference, if you want to call it that, you can end up just identifying yourself with that one style and not being able to encompass other materials. So I could say for myself that I've identified myself as an audio learner, and that's it. I'm not going to read a book again now, so I won't bother with books. And it's not like that for me, but it could be something that happens to people, that they'll end up pigeonholing themselves or pigeonholing other people. The other thing that seems to come out of research is that teachers shouldn't waste their time on different learning styles for a group of people. So this, to me, shouldn't a teaching environment be mixed anyway, where it caters for everybody in the lesson anyway? Because we know that everybody's got different learning styles. Everybody's got different ways they learn better. So some people will enjoy role playing, and some people will enjoy just watching, sitting at the back of the class. So when I did a teacher training course as well a couple of years ago, and there was a lot of emphasis on the structure of the lesson itself, and we learned that you should make the lesson quite varied and have a kind of structure to it, but have it varied for different people's learning styles as such. So I've got that in mind as well. The other thing that comes out of these research papers is that isn't it just discipline? Learning should be a discipline. So to me, that means that we should form habits rather than say I've got a particular style and that's how it is. I should form a habit. So I've got an example of that with myself. A couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I decided to try a language learning technique or method, which I thought looked really good. And it was from one of my Facebook friends, David James, has pioneered this method called the Goldlist method. And it's a method where you get a big book, A4 book, and you write down phrases in the book of the language that you're learning every day. So you can do it several times a day, but you do 25 phrases, and they're phrases that are meaningful. So it has to be comprehensible input. So you do that, and then you put that, you turn the page over, and you don't look at that for another 2 weeks at least. You date it at the top as well. When you come back to it, you take off a third of the words that you feel confident that you know, and then you leave the other 2/3 there, and you carry on like this you take off 2/3 of them and write them out again, and the other third you leave there, and then you carry on like this every couple of weeks. You go back and look at the next ones that you've distilled off. So it's a form of distillation, and it's supposed to work for the long-term memory. And it's very much a reading and writing exercise. So in the VARK model, this would come under reading and writing. And I tried this and was quite excited because I did it, and I did all these word lists, and I got on David James's league table. I was like number 38 in the world or something, and I was quite excited about that. And then I did it for another term. So you do this for about 10 weeks, and then you give it up for 3 weeks, something like this, and you do it again. And everybody does it all at the same time. So it's a very target-driven thing. So I did all that, and I was in the Facebook group and posting comments about it. And then when I went back to restudy those notes again, I couldn't remember any of it. So it's just all completely gone. And I think it's because I'm not a reading and writing style. I don't have a reading and writing style. So that was kind of not really the method for me, even though other people were raving about it and it's really helped them learn a language. It just didn't work for me. And it was a real effort as well for me to do that every day. So I did have the discipline to do that. I did it for quite a few months, and it didn't get me anywhere. So I think in this case, I would have been better concentrating on something that was more of my style, if that makes sense. So I think all models should be taken as a model. They're not a method. They should be a framework, kind of to give you an insight into something. So I hope that you'll have fun with the videos from the videos I've made. And if you want to go and do some research yourself, go and do it and look up the VARK myth. So incidentally, on VARK's website, they have a statement on there that reacts to all these research papers. And their stance on this is that sometimes you can't measure a style. So a style is not measurable, and that these papers are trying to measure something that you can't measure. I don't know if that's true or not. It's up to you to decide. But for me, I think that the VARK model has been quite an interesting thing for me this time round, because I haven't looked at it for years, and I just decided to have a look recently, a few weeks ago. And when I did my test again, and I came out as a kinesthetic person, it made sense to me that some of the methods I was using before, why they failed, and what I need to do to help my own success in learning materials, getting the most out of learning materials, if that makes sense. So I just wanted to make this video to say that, and I don't know if I've covered everything. I mean, obviously I'm biased towards thinking the VART model is good, and I know people have kind of dismissed loads of these models in the last few years because lots of research papers have come out. I don't know. I'm going to continue using it as a framework for myself, for self-development, but I don't want you to take it too seriously. So I'm glad that I had that comment on my video, and I was going to mention this in the live stream on Saturday, so I'm still open for debate if anyone wants to debate about this, and hopefully we can take a holistic approach to these things. So thanks very much for watching. Stay safe and happy language learning.